Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach him how to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. Of course. You've heard that. I've heard that. Makes total sense. But have you ever thought what happens when this man has no clue that fishing is even a possibility? Have you ever thought what happens when that man doesn't believe that he could possibly fish? What happens when in this city of Chicago, right now, there are tens of thousands of kids living in the inner city where they can actually see the skyline of downtown? And that might as well just be a postcard because they don't believe that they will ever be able to enter into this world, let alone succeed. They grow up in communities where success just means getting a minimum wage job in Walmart or any other fast food company and being able to hold on to that job for a few paychecks. Entering a building like this and succeeding, it's not even contemplated. So here's the problem. This is not just happening for one student or a few hundred students. America has a huge problem. According to Georgetown University, 2/3 of all jobs that will be created in America starting in the year 2018, just around the corner, 2/3 will require a post-secondary education. And at the same time, studies show that only 15% of today's inner city kids, 9th graders today, will get a post-secondary education. We're not talking just four-year college. We're talking two-year college, technical school, et cetera. So 2/3 of jobs will require a college career. Only 15% of today's 9th graders will get one. So what's the problem? Many jobs with no people prepared to occupy them, and many people with no jobs that pay livable wages. That's a certain recipe for economic and social disaster. So we talk about in education the 3 R's: rigor, relevance, and relationships. Now, it kills me when I'm talking to a school administrator and they only focus on rigor, right? Why do they only focus on rigor? Because that's what they know how to do. And so it kills me when they're talking about kids not passing the math test, the standard math test, and they say, well, we're just going to double down, and put them in math classes twice as long. And what they don't get is that the kid is not listening. The kid doesn't even want to be there. When their reality for success is just getting a job flipping burgers, who cares about geometry? Okay? Relevance and relationships, they're not brought into school. Why? Because that's not what comes natural to educators. Why is it that the kid really needs to be able to learn math and reading and sciences? What is it that they can really accomplish in life? And relationships. The greatest resource in education today, the greatest resource is the very people we serve. And that's free. And let me repeat that. The best resource we have in education reform today are the very people we serve, the students. How are we engaging students to be positive, peer-to-peer mentors and models to their students? I've been to many schools where success is not cool. Being successful is not cool. And we're surprised then that we have 50% dropout or more in our schools. So this is where Genesys Works comes in. We provide the relevance and relationships in the schools so that the students can see themselves as successful professionals. So what is Genesys Works? Genesys Works is a social enterprise that changes the trajectory of life for inner city high school students by engaging them into meaningful internships at major corporations during their senior year in high school. When I started this, I came from the corporate world. I started this right after 9/11 because I wanted to make a bigger difference in the world. And little did I know that what I was doing something innovative. Why is a meaningful internship innovative? I didn't get it, but it turns out it is. And so we started in Houston, expanded to the Twin Cities in 2008, Chicago in 2010, and we just announced last week we're opening in San Francisco in 2013. Forbes magazine named Genesys Works as one of the top 30 social enterprises in the world. And that's crazy to me because we're not doing anything innovative. We're not doing anything that doesn't happen in the best corporations in America every day. The innovative part is just not happening in education. So here's how the program works. During the spring semester of the junior year, students apply to come into our program. Now here's a little secret. Please don't let this out. But most students that apply get invited for the interview. If they show up for the interview, they're accepted into the program. Now, we don't let them know that. We do the big old letter, congratulations, out of hundreds of people. But grades are not even part of the criteria to come in. Grades are not part of the criteria. The only thing that matters is, can they work during their senior year in high school? Then they invest their entire summer, 4 hours a day, Monday through Friday, for 8 weeks, into our facilities. Now, you remember that picture of that building that I showed in my first slide? That is our facility here in Chicago. It's a beautiful Class A building on the river, inside the loop. A building that kids from the roughest neighborhoods of Chicago never thought they could even enter. And yet, that's where they go on day one of the training, and they start to discover that maybe this corporate world is kind of cool. You know, number one comment that students tell us is, I didn't realize that corporate people were so nice. Yeah, we start to change their mindset, and we do it through technical skills, but more importantly, communication and professional skills. They have to give presentations to the whole class. We start opening them up and having them break out of their shell. We take the students that we like to call the quiet middle. These are the students, not the super performers and not the big troublemakers either. We're not equipped to handle those. But those ones in the middle that without our intervention would probably just maybe finish high school but not do anything after that. And yet through our program, they come to discover that they have a lot more potential. So we also do a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun. We work hard, we play hard. And the reason we do that is because we're starting to generate their own networks of positive peers so that when the going gets tough, they encourage each other to keep going. After they finish the summer training, they go into a meaningful internship during their entire senior year in high school. They go to school in the morning, they come in the afternoon, they work in the afternoon, and then once a week, they come to our facility where we guide them, each one of them, in the right career for them, and what college is right for that career, and then in scholarship applications. They hate that part. They hate it. They hate writing essays. But why do we force them to do it? We force them to do it because they don't have the parents at home that more affluent families have. Right? Anybody here a parent that has forced your kid to go to college? Yeah, it's hard. And so we do that job. In our schools, the ratio of counselors to students is 500 students to each counselor. 500 to 1. How in the world can you possibly guide each one of them to do what they really can do? And so our ratio is 20 to 1. So we can do that. So let's talk about the meaningful internship. Just this morning, I was watching the news, and they're parading the space shuttle in the streets of Los Angeles. Right? And that reminded me of our students that worked in NASA. So in every experiment that is run in the International Space Station, it has computers that are dedicated for that experiment. Every computer needs to be configured with the right software and hardware. And it was our students who lived in the roughest neighborhoods in Houston that went to NASA every day to configure hundreds of computers a year that flew aboard the space shuttle, went into the space station, and ran mission-critical experiments. Can you imagine what it does for a kid when they can put that in their resume for scholarships, for colleges? It's unbelievable. And what it does for their self-confidence. And so if NASA can trust our students to perform mission-critical jobs, certainly every corporation in this city can too. The results, according to a third-party study that was just released this year, is that 92% of all of our graduates go on to college. 92%. Now, remember, grades are not part of the criteria for admittance, and 92% are going to college. But what's more impressive is that 86% persist beyond their first year, which is a good proxy for college completion. 86% persist. Why? Because once a kid, like Calvin, shown in this picture, once Calvin got to experience that he can succeed as a professional and he can live in the economic mainstream, but that he needs a further education in order to do so, he grows determined to succeed against all odds when he gets to college. Flipping burgers is just not an option anymore in his own mind. Our ultimate vision is that one day, all kids that attend our public schools will finish high school with the belief, with the knowledge that they can succeed as professionals in the corporate world. And if they choose to do so, they will engage into today's economic mainstream. How do we do this? Number one, we have to break the paradigm of what the high school internship is all about. High school internships are not new. They've existed for a long, long time. But companies normally engage kids to do menial work, clerical work, busy work. They find stuff for them to do. Most of these programs, all the kid does is they do their homework. And it's just not really that good. Companies think that they're doing something good for the community, and that's why they do it, but they're not. The kid is not benefiting, and the company is not benefiting. It's not serving anybody. And it further reinforces in the kid's mind that all they're good for is to make copies and file some papers. No, our students are doing information technology, engineering, drafting, accounting and finance for major corporations in a cost-effective way that benefits the companies today and benefits the kids by letting them know that they can succeed in that profession. So we have to break that high school paradigm. We need to allow our education systems to fully recognize the power of the meaningful internship in the learning experience. We are uniquely qualified to be able to bring that relevance and relationships into the education process, because every one of our students have a direct relationship with an adult at the workplace who is their supervisor. And this supervisor, yes, is a supervisor in the workplace, but it also becomes their mentor in life. And it's free. It's free. Okay? And so schools need to totally embrace the value of the meaningful internship into the education process and make the rules so that these internships are part of the educational experience. And the last thing is that we need to enable the entire business community at large to embrace the meaningful internship, embrace this new generation of students that may not look like them, and yet they are the future workforce, and engage them in the high school years and earlier in the middle school years into the corporations, into this mindset that they can succeed, and that being part of this corporate world is a world in which they can live a much better life than their families ever have. Thank you.